hand side. Pass the dutchie on the left hand side. It a go bun. It a go done.
Riddle me this, Batman. You're gay.
Couldn't find Big Ben in America, so I decided to ask a random American. I think he doesn't speak English, so I asked.
Do you speak Russian? No, stupid, Japanese only.
I quickly adapted it to the situation and asked.
Get up, cocksuckers, it's all over. Listen, we had a rough couple of months.
We have to kill the witches.
Do any other autistics take coloring very literally? Having to color inside the lines, but also needing to make everything the color that it actually is? My sister and I were coloring yesterday, and she did this, and I did this, for reference. And I even went as far to use the exact colors from the tag, but I literally physically could not have done it any other way.
Autistics love to line things up and organize them. I don't do that. Time to rank My Little Pony characters by how well they'd survive the apocalypse.
We need to stop! We need to stop using incest as a plot device!
Cliffhanger, alibi, foreshadowing, flashback, a death trap, those are plot devices! You cannot run out of options! Why did you not choose one of them?
Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you? We have some work to do now.
Mole, mole.
Is it pronounced the GIF or GIF?
It's a GIF!
It's a GIF! It's an acronym! You idiot! You don't see it all out! It's GIF!
And if the heat comes close enough to burn, then we're burning this place to the ground, 'cause you'll never take us alive.
Pick anyway.
Let's see. Eeny, meeny, miny.
Heaven forbid someone whisper he's part of some scheme. Your enemy whispers, so you have to scream. I know about whispers. I see how you look at my sister.
It's alright, Johnny. I'm here.
Fuck! This paper before I got paid! You know!
Girl, you know that crazy move. It on back in the day. Shake it like that. Shake it like
Theory confirmed, ADHD is diet autism?
Except it's not. It's really not. ADHD and autism are two completely different disorders. The only reason they can look the same is because the comorbidity rate is high, so there's lots of people who have both, experience both, and exhibit the traits of both. Not only is the study you're referencing really sketchy and harmful, claims like ADHD is diet autism are also extremely harmful. Claims like that feed into anti-autism ableism and misinformation around autism and ADHD. It harms autistic people by adding to the stigma around autism, and by promoting and justifying the separation of autistic people by levels of required support and the presence or absence of comorbid intellectual disability. It harms ADHD people because terms like autism light and diet autism inadvertently downplay the struggles of ADHD people, and it harms autistic ADHD people by feeding into confirmation biases based in anti-autism attitudes, making undiagnosed people believe that they can identify with just ADHD and get the supports they need when they can't. Again, the study is harmful. And quite frankly, the fact that you're promoting it as a cool study in your video, coupled with the rhetoric you used, makes your video harmful. I strongly suggest you take down the video, reflect, and educate yourself on the matter before continuing to tout yourself as an educator.
And here you
go again, calling me racist simply for having opinions. All I said was that blacks need to get over slavery, and that blacks need to pull up their pants and stop acting ghetto if they want to be respected. I blame China for the coronavirus. During the rise of Asian hate crimes, I tried pinning black and Asian people against each other. I'm all for stand your ground and Second Amendment rights until it's a black person exercising them. I pretended to care about Ken and Hinden's tragedy so I could use it to downplay George Floyd's tragedy. And I'm voting for Donald Trump again in 2024. How do any of those things make me racist? Just because I say and do a bunch of racist things does not mean that I'm racist. I'm just an educated free thinker and you're a whiny snowflake sheep liberal.
My favorite college lecture was on Roman water culture, which sounds really boring, but it's not. Other than maybe roadways or major military conquests, the harnessing and utilization of water in ancient Rome was, even by today's standards, really cool. And probably Rome's biggest achievement. Roman water was one of the first examples in human history where a government system actually benefited all levels of society from beggar to emperor. You had latrines, baths, dining spaces, fountains. Rome mastered the art of taking the natural and making it artificial, so a river 50 miles away could now be a fountain in a city. And Roman aqueducts like this bad boy were ridiculously simple. They didn't have pumps or any kind of mechanism other than gravity alone. The water simply traveled downstream from the source to the city, and most aqueducts ran underground, so Roman citizens didn't even see them. And the aqueducts that had to travel over large uninhabitable areas had these beautiful arches built like the Pont de Gard in France circa 16 BCE. This is a cute map of it. And when the water did get to the cities, they were stored in castellum aqua, which were water castles or water towers. And from these water castles, they would go to houses or streets, and this is where we see the overconsumption of water big time, because, fun fact, the city of Rome only needed one aqueduct to survive. They had 11. And the best part about overconsumption is that everybody has access to water now. A citizen would usually spend 30 minutes to 2 hours every day getting the daily water that they need from these public fountains or cisterns. Yeah, you can drink from them. And these public fountains actually did have valves on them to turn them on or off, but they were rarely turned off because you wanted them to overflow because that's how the streets were kept clean. That's just so neat to me. I don't know. Elite homes could even have their own private water system in their house. They would just have to go to council to get permission to run the lead pipes for fountains, gardening, toilets, cleaning, cooking. And once again, they have valves, so they can even turn their own water on and off with the distribution box. Especially once we're a few centuries into this water culture, fountains in a rich person's home are a must. Rich people always had their doors open, so that way you could look into their house and see how rich they are, and that's where they would place the fountain, right dead center in front of the door. And it's really funny because there are actual logs of neighbors going one after the other to the council to get permission for a fountain. So even in ancient times, there was friendly neighbor competition of keeping up with the Joneses. Romans had very strict and very boring water laws because they understood the importance of not polluting your own water, so water towers or castles were really sacred. This is really cool. So emperors and wealthy individuals even had water dining spaces, like water dining rooms. So it sort of looked like this. You dined on your left elbow laying down and water would just be below you. They even had special plates or trays that would float and carry your food. And it was actually really cool if you were wealthy enough to have a water dining space because you had to wash your feet before dining in ancient Rome. So to just walk through the water, that was washing your feet. Practical.
He has no rules, no boundaries. He doesn't flinch at torture, human trafficking, or genocide. He's not loyal to a flag.
Time. It's almost time. Time for the show. Where did the trailer go? Wakey, wakey.
High tech, low life. We're all familiar with the cyberpunk aesthetic, with neon Asian inspired streets, a lot of bad weather with electronic music in the background, extremely functional clothes, so functional that you don't even know what to do with it. There's a kind of dark nostalgia in this genre, even though it's supposed to be about the future. And this is most likely because American cyberpunk is most reflective of the sci-fi subgenre that was refined in the 1980s, with literary works like William Gibson's Neuromancer, or movies like Ridley Scott's Blade Runner having huge influences on the genre. And of course there's the Japanese influence with the sci-fi monument that's Akira, or works like Ghost in the Shell or Cowboy Bebop. But the reason why I find cyberpunk to be particularly interesting is that it's so close to our current reality now. Visually, there are definitely places that look cyberpunk simply because fictional cyberpunk cities were based on real locations. But beyond just the aesthetics, the core themes of cyberpunk, high-tech, low-life, has become modern-day existence in many places around the world. We're literally living in a world where mega corporations control almost every aspect of our lives. And technologies that have been developed so recently, as recent as a few decades ago, are woven into our day-to-day so tightly that you really can't function in society without it anymore. A global pandemic has taken over our lives for the past few years, and the wealth gap has gotten wider than ever before. Inflation is rising way faster than average wages, and housing prices has gone through the roof. And the only people who can afford them are people who already have multiple properties. While tens of thousands of people in any given megacity have no shelter at all. At the same time though, my tiny phone can take 4K film quality videos. I can play games with people who live halfway across the world. And their corporate overlords are quite literally going to outer space. All this technology in the palm of our hands, and yet there's an emptiness. The false comfort of having day-to-day conveniences that makes you think that life is easier now than ever before in human history, when in reality, you're one accident away from being out in the streets, and even if you do everything right, you're probably going to have to work until you drop dead. But hey, at least your apartment has keyless entry. And if that's not high-tech, low-life, what is?
Go get these bottles, we go alcohol insane. Calling all the girls, do you hear me? All around the world, city to city.
How do you get to Wonderland? Over the hill.
We gay man, cause you know you gay and stuff.
Okay, thank you.
He gotta go
Talent.
gay balloon cause it got all the colors cause it's gay.
Okay.
And I got Skittles cause it got a rainbow on it.
Okay.
And I got the cupcake. It said, be who you are for your pride.
My back! I can't believe it! Please help!
With your DID, or OSDD, that you don't think gets talked about enough.
This isn't currently an issue, but it is one that I faced a while ago. Younger systems are going to have more fictives and more alters than most adult systems, and that is normal with how the brain processes information and develops its identity. Systems who have known that they are systems for longer will have less fictives and seem more educated because they likely in therapy than younger systems who do not have access to any of that and are just trying to figure out who they are. In the end, we are all just impressions of things that we have absorbed throughout our life. Fictives are just what people are before they are able to further internalize other aspects and things into their alters. Being a young or newly realized system that has a lot of fictives is very common, and it has nothing to do with the severity of your past.